Today's guest has nearly 3 decades of experience with the RCMP, including roles in North Vancouver, federal units, and university policing. He is trained throughout North America in firearms, national security, counterterrorism, and both public and personal safety. He has a rich background in criminal interdiction and source recruitment. Welcome to the Silvercore Podcast, Ian Sim.
Good day, sir. Nice to meet you finally.
It is good to meet you, man. We've had a lot of back and forth through text message and email. Well, mostly text, I guess, eh? And then voice talking back and forth.
Yep.
It's been a bit now, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I was going to try and meet you earlier, but a month of COVID kind of got in the way. But then I realized we've got a lot of friends in common.
Yeah, we got a lot of mutual acquaintances and friends, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were saying you watched your very first podcast, and that was the one with Seb.
Yeah, Seb Lavoie.
That's right.
We've crossed paths a number of times in the RCMP over the years.
Yeah.
On the range, empty hand training course, some commonality in with some covert stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I talked to him. He's big with the podcasts, and yeah, my first podcast I watched last night with you and Seb.
Well, I'm flattered to be your first podcast. What's kind of interesting here is recently, so I traveled up north with my wife, and we went to a well, I guess I can talk about it now. Usually I leave the names aside, but it's already been aired. But I went to Rachel Attila's place and we recorded a podcast. She's a professional rancher. She's a professional trapper, professional guide. And she had spent about 4 years trying to get an authorization to carry a restricted firearm to protect her life out in a remote wilderness area. And of course, the Firearms Act regulations permits that. And it says if you're working in a remote wilderness area, if you meet the certain requirements, you can go out, you can train. And it's been massively well received. Lots of comments, lots of people emailing, lots of people contacting the office. And one of the things that tends to come up a lot is, well, that's all well and good for somebody who's working out in a remote wilderness area. Why can't we defend ourselves? Why can't we stand up for ourselves in a similar way to how the Americans will stand up for themselves in the States against a two-legged predator? Why is it only applicable for wilderness areas and remote areas? And I think you have some background in this, and you've got a very proactive approach to communicating information. I've looked at some of the stuff you've done within your policing career, and you operate a little bit differently than the norm, which really intrigued me. And I can go into that further in a bit, but I'm going to let you chat.
Yeah. Well, self-preservation is the first law of nature.
Yes.
So, the last million years, let's say, tens of thousands of years, security of person is the first law of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, security of person, Section 7 of our charter. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person, not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with fundamental justice. Section 7 of our charter is the right of all rights, without which all your other rights are meaningless. If you're not safe, your other rights are useless. And it's security of person.
Right.
These are not group rights, collective rights, mob rights. These are individual human rights. Most Canadians can't tell you what Section 7 of the Charter is. I just call it the right to be safe, but it is the right of all rights. Section 7, well, where did security of person come from? UN Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. Security of person. Canadian Bill of Rights, 1960. Security of person. Canadian Charter of Rights, 1982. Security of person. So security of person is a thing. Been around for a long time. And we're a filthy rich Western democracy here. We've had it very good for a very long time. We're still, in around the world, we're still one of the top destinations that people want to live in. And as a result, we have probably lost sight of the concept of democracy, liberty, human rights. They just really haven't been that much of a thing over
Why
the
do you think
years.
that is?
Because we're a rich Western democracy. We've had it good.
Right.
We haven't faced wars and famine and pestilence. I mean, COVID was a bit weird, but so we've done many things right. Some things were just maybe good luck, and we'll take it. But I worked almost a decade at UBC, University of British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
I'll meet kids out there raising money for Amnesty International. Say, hey, how's it going? What do you think the most important human right we have is under the Charter? Now, a lot of international students, some are American, so they're not familiar with our Charter. But even the Canadian kids, they're like, and they're out there raising money for Amnesty International, which is a rights-based organization.
Yeah.
And they can't tell me what the Charter says.
Most people can't.
And I understand it. And I just think that we need to perhaps put a little bit more of that in our high schools. You hear rights all the time, right? Everyone's got rights. Everyone's claiming rights. You hear it at protests, counter-protesters. But the Charter is the supreme law of Canada. And the Supreme Court of Canada will assess our legislation, municipal, provincial, federal, against the Charter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. There have been countries where 1930s Germany, a lot of what they did was legal. Courts, judges, Western democracy. Up until that point, people stack the Supreme Court in the United States. People kind of try and stack the Supreme Court up here. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect. I get it. But, our Supreme Court and our system in Canada is pretty good when you compare it to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to stop people from complaining. There's always going to be things they can poke holes in. I get it. I've been guilty of it myself. But when we take that a little bit more of a overview, take a step back and look at it, there's a lot that is good with the system that we have. And I think if people are properly educated as to how the system can work for them and how perhaps the system is designed to be used, I'm hoping that will, at least in one small piece, be where this podcast can help people.
So I'm not going to change the educational system in BC, probably, or Canada. But when I talk at, I've talked at university classes before. I've presented there. I've presented at Douglas College criminology courses. I've presented and taught courses at the Justice Institute. The topic of rights often comes up. I recently taught a class at the Justice Institute on police leadership for international students.
Okay.
Mostly lawyers from various countries around the world. And inevitably rights comes up because, most of them are so thankful to be in Canada studying. Many of them want to stay here. And that's in large part because we have rights, because Canada isn't like back home. So we do a lot of things well. I think history is important, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's interesting that the international students sometimes are more interested in our rights and sometimes know more than our Canadian kids. So, and different. They're coming from different cultures, different countries, India, Iran, Brazil. I walked in a class, that last class I taught, and some of the students stood up when I walked in the room.
As a sign of respect?
Yeah, I was stunned. I kind of looked over and I'm like, what's going on? And then I quickly clued in as to what was happening. They were a bit older. Many of them were lawyers, but very polite, very respectful. It can get a bit testy with Canadian kids in Canadian classrooms. I'm good with it. Everything's on the table, A to Z. Just let's not yell and scream at each other. So, and then working at the University of British Columbia for almost a decade, I had the opportunity to meet people from all over the world who I never would have met otherwise. And I get stuck right in. Hey, how's it going? Where are you from? Some clearly aren't interested in talking to a uniformed police officer. Many are.
Sure.
I was there during COVID, BLM, the U.S. election. As a white colonial settler cop, as I was called once or twice.
You've never heard that before, have you?
Right? So, I defund the cops. All cops are bastards. Down on Wreck Beach. I mean, Wreck Beach is kind of an alien planet on an alien planet.
Yeah, a little microcosm unto itself.
You know what? It's got a very colorful clientele. And I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I went to University of British Columbia.
Yeah.
But we need to do a better job with our history, celebrating what we got right, celebrating what we do right, and not forgetting lessons of the past, what to do and what not to do. And I just, rights are a thing. They're not going away.
Right. There's some people who would look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and say, it's fantastic. We've got these rights enshrined. And there's other people who would look at that and say, who is this government to say that this is our rights? These are God-given rights. These are inalienable rights. So I've heard people argue that on both different sides. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants the rights to go their way. So is there a hierarchy of rights? I think so.
Okay.
I think I've maybe alluded to what I think is the right of all rights, which is the right to be safe. Section 7 of the Charter. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. I don't know what order all your other rights come in. I'm just pretty sure that Section 7 is at the top of the list. It's numbered number 7, but again, if you're not safe, what good are your rights?
And I'll read it because I printed it out here, so I'm somewhat familiar, but it says, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. So it's not an unfettered right. They have some constraints around there, which they call the principles of fundamental justice. And I'm sure a lawyer would be able to opine further on that, but it seems somewhat nebulous.
I mean, was it true, or Winston Churchill that said, democracy is the worst political system we have in the world, except for all the others. So it's imperfect, as are we. We're imperfect. I'm a perfectly imperfect human being, somewhat damaged by 25 years in policing, right? I got yelled at a lot on Wreck Beach during COVID. I get yelled at occasionally when I presented classes. And I'm like, okay, you're angry. I get it. It's university. This is nothing new. What are you angry at? The past, the present, the future? Or you just want to yell? And that's okay too. I'm good, right? And that was mostly American and Canadian kids. Well, from what I could tell.
Right.
Our international visitors and the international students thought we were rock stars. We're down there doing foot patrols on the beach. They're like, you don't talk to the cops at home. They will steal from you. They will rape you. They will kill you. All the above. And even the Irish kids, right? They're not going to steal their stuff, get raped or killed by the cops for the most part. But they're like, yeah, you don't talk to those guys, right? That's a sad commentary coming from a what we'd think is what is a Western democracy? They go,
Right.
you guys are amazing. You're friendly. You're funny. You're professional. And before you know it, it's photo time. And never really gave it much thought until I started working at UBC and on Wreck Beach.
Right.
So perhaps we just take for granted what we have. Don't give it much thought as to how we got here, where it came from. The rights. I mean, who gives us our rights? Does God give us our rights? I don't know which God. Who's God?
Right. Whose God are we talking about now?
Is it Trudeau Sr. that gave them to us and brought them over in '82? Is it the current government? Well, no. It's none of the above. Your rights are your human rights, which are by definition minority rights, are yours by virtue of being born into the human race.
What do you mean by minority rights?
So your human rights are a limitation on the power of the state.
Okay.
It tells the state what they cannot do.
Right.
And many of our rights have been developed and explored by minorities in our community. And by minorities, I don't mean like criminal law. A lot of our criminal law has been developed by people being charged criminally.
Sure.
And claiming a charter breach, search and seizure, for example, and or your rights around a lawyer.
Right.
So a lot of our rights are not established, but explored and developed further, fine-tuned.
Sure. Okay.
By criminals or people who were charged with criminal offenses.
Right.
So and they are minority in most societies. Other ones, LGBTQ plus community, a minority.
Sure.
But, they are fighting for what they perceive to be their rights.
Yes.
So everyone in Canada can fight for what they perceive to be their rights. Now, if it's in the Charter, helpful. If it's in the Canadian Bill of Rights, helpful. If it's in the UN Declaration of Human Rights, helpful. It might be in the Bible, helpful. If other Western democracies have similar rights, the Supreme Court judges in Canada will look at similar systems.
Sure.
Including the United States, Britain for sure, where our common law comes from, where American law comes from. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court can say, yes, Section 7 of the Charter is the supreme law of the land. We agree it's the right of all rights, without which, all your rights are meaningless. And this young lady, the guide, who got her authorization to carry for to protect life in wilderness areas, a government could come down the road and say, "None, you're done." And with the recent handgun freeze, whatever that means exactly, so a new government could come in, they could take that away. They could expand on it. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court could say, Travis, Section 7 of the Charter states security of person. You have the right to an authorization to carry, a civilian authorization to carry anywhere in Canada, including urban areas. And the government of the day could go, notwithstanding clause, and it's done, crushed for 5 years.
Right.
So the system is not perfect. Rights, some people think rights are kind of airy-fairy, left-wing stuff. They're for everyone. If you can articulate to a judge that there's been a charter breach or an egregious breach of your rights under the Charter, you may get your hearing in front of the Supreme Court. not you personally. I mean, it'll go to the Supreme Court perhaps.
Mm.
So rights work for everyone, but they don't work all the time for everything. I talked to some of my friends in northern Arizona in and around Gun Sight Ranch, right? If you had one right to choose from, would it be your right to carry, Second Amendment, or a woman's right to choose? Pick one. You get one. What's more important to you? So a lot of people will claim they have rights. Sometimes we disagree on what those rights actually mean. But if you convince a judge and then the Supreme Court justices, you've got your rights. And so let's say armored car guards. Let's say we were going to expand armored car guards in Canada by 10,000 guards in the next 3 years. It wouldn't make the news. And they carry a handgun openly to protect life.
Right.
It wouldn't make news. Even if you phone the news station, they'd be like, why is that news?
Yeah, who cares?
If someone came out, a government, provincial or federal, said, we're going to expand the right authorization to carry for civilians by 10,000 people in the next 3 years, that would be news.
That would be everywhere. And one thing that goes through my head, and actually there's a bunch of things going through my head, but I should probably have preempted all of this with, this isn't legal advice and we're not lawyers and we don't speak for anybody other than ourselves. These are our opinions that we're going to be going through here. So that kind of puts a big blanket over top of the conversation of protection for everybody.
Yes, obviously we're not lawyers, but you'll see people in the Supreme Court of Canada, lawyers on both sides, arguing completely different arguments, like polar opposite. You know, if anyone thinks they can predict how a Supreme Court case is going to go, I mean, best of luck, right? Friend
of mine is a very well-accomplished lawyer, extremely intelligent, and he says you've got the perfect case, and you go to Supreme Court, and you've got everything 100% perfect on your side. You've got about 70-30 chance.
And even if you win, notwithstanding clause, federal government can go, yeah, sorry, too bad. So it's imperfect. It's more perfect than many systems around the world, but it's not perfect. And rights are like, so, you know, you will get people on both sides arguing that although armored car guards can carry a handgun all day long around Canada, no one cares, no one gives them a second look, you can't, or I can't carry off shift.
Well, I think there's a really interesting piece to this, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But an armored car guard is not a peace officer. People see the uniform, they see the gun, and maybe they got an armored car guard badge, and they say, well, this is a special person. An armored car guard has the exact same responsibilities as a private citizen when they're carrying that firearm. They just happen to be working in some industry where their primary activity is a transport of cash or negotiables. And they have a firearm there not to protect the cash.
No.
Not to protect any of the negotiables. It's to protect their life or life of a third party from imminent danger of death or grievous bodily harm. And that's it. And as a private citizen, all of the same rules that apply to an armored car guard apply to a private citizen.
So the standard to carry a handgun today by a private citizen in British Columbia is the security legislation, provincial, I believe, for armored car guards.
That's right.
That's it. So again, and Canadians or British Columbians would have nothing to say if they said we're going to increase armored car guards by 5,000. But again, it's illogical. A lot of the arguments, and I get it, emotion is a thing. Anxiety is a thing. people may believe in what they're doing or promoting or saying, good intentions, the whole bit. But, does it stand kind of the just kind of the logic test? Not really. In opposing civilian ATC. And they go, oh, America, south of the border, rah, 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 rah. Well, the vast majority of Canadians I've met don't understand Canadian firearms laws.
Right.
They certainly don't understand firearms laws in other countries or in 48 different states south of the border. They have an opinion, as many people do. It can be, like many topics, an emotional one. And again, I understand it. The mere thought of violence can be distressing to people. Just the thought. And perhaps they've never experienced violence. If you've experienced violence as a victim or on the other side, it can be traumatic, very emotional, very stressful. So I get it. People get nervous when they think about their own safety. It's understandable, but we shouldn't be using these cute one-liners, and we should help people understand the true pros and the true cons of any legislation, particularly public safety legislation. Misleading Canadians about public safety legislation, I have a problem with that. I've spent my whole career and much of my life in service to my community, particularly around community safety.
I'm sure you've heard the expression, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away. And as a peace officer protecting others, you can't be there all the time for everybody. And the one thing that I see that has taken a massive hit over the years seems to be the individual's sense of personal agency. There seems to be an abrogation, if I'm even using that word correctly, to abrogate control or responsibility to a third party. And the way that messages from media or government agencies will communicate that is, no, you hang tight, we'll help you. No, you don't take care of yourself. We've got a crew that's specially trained that'll be there to take care of you. Which is all well and good, because there's people out there that need taken care of, and there's people out there that might not be the best advocate for themselves. But to push that so far to the point where people feel they don't have that personal agency, where they can actually step up and do something positive to affect their life or their life of those they love that are around them, I think is doing people a massive disservice, not just at the individual level, but at the societal level, everywhere.
Yeah, we've had it so good in Canada for so long, and we still have it good, although things are changing quickly. I'm not going to be there. I'm not a first responder. I don't like the term. I've never liked the term. I won't be there probably when you need me, initially. If someone is going to shoot up a school, a street, a coffee shop, and I'm sitting there in uniform, doing my daily hydrational activities, they're going to shoot me first and then get on with it. Or they're going to sit and they're going to wait till we leave, then they're going to get on with it. They might come back another day if they're short for time. I don't know. But we're the second or the third or the fourth responders. You and anyone around you, you're the first responder. You are your own first responder. Now, I've been saying that for a long time. No one gives it much thought. If you survive the initial incident, call us and we'll come running. Like, we will move heaven and earth to get to a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Accident, violent, we will move heaven and earth to get there, but we won't be there in time for everyone. We can't. It says, I don't know, they're saying, you don't need guns because we have police. and well, then I guess you don't need fire extinguishers because we have firefighters.
Right.
And I don't say it to be cute.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it seems to be pure, simple, clear logic. We get there after the fact. And if you've called us, we'll do the best we can, but we won't be there in time. You're on your own for a period of time. And ideally, that's a very short period of time, but it might be a bit longer than that.
The one thing that I see from my perspective and what's been communicated to me by past students is this overwhelming fear of getting in trouble, fear of what could happen if they stood up for themselves. And I've always looked at that as an odd fear. I mean, we can stick our head in the sand and pretend that nothing's going to happen. And statistically, in the past, we got it pretty good here in Canada, right? But at least be armed with the information so that if something went sideways,
excuse me,
we have an idea as to what our constraints are, how we can act, what we can do to be able to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones, and do so in a way where we're not losing our house afterwards.
So to protect life is in the criminal code. Always has been, always will be.
Mm-hmm.
You can use as much force as necessary to protect you and those under your care from death or grievous bodily harm. So, first place to start is the criminal code. It's not gone away. You can defend yourself and your family and strangers.
That would be the third party that they talk about.
The third party. So, again, it's a thing. It's codified. It's in the law. It's not going away. It never has. And again, remember, you're on your own for a little bit. For us to get there, we have to get the call. So, we're only a moment away from catastrophe. Like we're seconds away from a switch or a trigger, a knife, a car, but for us to get there, we need to get the call. So it's murder in progress, and we might not know what's happening until we get the call. So Virginia Tech massacre, I think, 31 dead, 9 minutes flat. Sandy Hook, 28 dead, 3 to 4 minutes flat. We won't be there in time because we have to get the call. So there's a number of things that have to happen and that do happen before we get that call. And I kind of call it the death gap. I haven't given it too much thought. Well, I've given it a lot of thought, but I call it the death gap because the incident starts, people are dying, and you can do a lot of damage in a very short period of time, as we've seen over the years. I mean, I was studying active shooters before the term active shooter existed.
Right.
I don't know why. My dad worked for the federal government, fire protection, industrial safety. It was always about safety, 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 safety. So I just grew up safety, safety, safety.
Yep.
young boy, interested in guns, neat, cool, cops. So it's just a thing I followed. But the incident starts. We don't know about it, right? People are scrambling for their lives. People are dying. Eventually, calls come in. I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. It depends. Frantic calls, right? The dispatchers are trying to find out what's happening, where you are, what's your address, what building are you in. They may or may not know those answers. We're gonna start getting a dispatch, shots fired somewhere, or it could be another tool that they use. And when we have an idea of a location, roughly, we're going to start going. But we got to get dispatchers have to dispatch us the call. We have to pull over in the road, throw on our hard plates, get our gear ready quickly. Then we got to fight our way, maybe through rush hour traffic, to get to a general location. And if it's a university or a college, huge campus, a rabbit's warren. Do the students even know what building they're in? Do they know what room? And it can happen anywhere. So, I mean, again, we'll move heaven and earth to get there, but there's a large gap for us to get there. How do we, as with traditional police emergency response, get there quicker? And I don't know that we can. Partly because of the gap, partly because of our resourcing levels, partly because of the time that it's going to take us to get there through rush hour traffic. So is that good enough? Or is there some way we can address and reduce that gap? But uniformed policing aren't going to be the ones to do that.
It's that education piece.
It's a scary thought.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, I this is my profession. I spent my whole life with doing community safety work.
Right.
And then I present at classes. I teach a little bit. I've never stopped reading for 45 years. I've been trained in, active shooter, IARD, indoor, outdoor. I'm a firearms instructor. I was shooting down at Jeff Cooper's, Colonel Cooper's gun site ranch in the 80s. I kind of live and breathe this. Like I said, Seb and other coworkers, we've got a lot of different people all working towards community safety or what some might term public safety. And we all contribute in different ways. But at the end of the day, when everything has failed, deterrence didn't work, detection didn't work, disruption didn't work, and these things will fail. We will never get them all. What now? So it's kind of a scary thought for the public. They're like, oh, crap. We are kind of on our own. Now, thankfully, the chances of these things happening, even in the States, are statistically low. And some will argue that, well, we can't have you carrying a handgun. I can't even carry my service pistol off shift. And I'm fully trained with specialty courses.
You can. They have from. No, I'm no lawyer, but if you get permission from a supervisor, has always been in there. I don't know what makes, let's say, your supervisor more important than somebody else's supervisor to say that you could protect your life, but somebody else can't. That has always struck me as something that was included to help get law enforcement support for some of the bills and some of the laws that were trying to be pushed through.
So there are police officers that carry off shift.
Sure.
Some with permission.
Sure.
Some without.
The old saying, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, right?
But it's too bad that the most professional people that you call to try and save your life, the lives of your family, your kids, people around you, could get into trouble professionally and possibly legally
Mm,
for carrying off shift. Some carry because they're on call.
sure.
A lot of police officers take their service pistols home because they're doing overtime on nights off, days
Mm,
off. Some put it in the lockbox and carry it home. Some leave overtime shifts or go to overtime shifts wearing their uniform,
mhm.
armed. But generally, you'll be hauled up in front of the boss and potentially face a code of conduct investigation if you're caught carrying off shift. Now, how are you going to get caught carrying off shift?
If you have to use it.
Okay, so if you're a rock star and you use it well and you save lives, I'm quite sure the organization will embrace you with open arms.
Right.
If you make a mistake or get it wrong,
Oh, yeah. You're done.
You're done. Now,
Yeah.
and again, I should say I am not speaking on behalf of the RCMP.
Right.
I am here as a private citizen who's, most of his life has been in and around public safety, community safety, personal safety. They're all different. So yeah, I'm not speaking on behalf of the organization. This is Ian's opinion, but based on 45 plus years of academic schooling and being in the profession for a quarter of a century.
My goal with the podcast that I did with Rachel was to normalize a process for something that is lawfully allowed. Back in the day, the National Firearms Association, I believe, was set up by Dave Tomlinson. Dave Tomlinson, he's passed on now, but he was a clever fellow, and he created a cheat sheet for getting an authorization to transport for your ATTs. And in the ATT form, it would say things like, from what times of the day will you be transporting a firearm, and what locations will you transport it to, and what days of the week would you be transporting it? And people would be like, well, I only go to the range on the weekends, and they fill it out, and the range closes at 6, and so I should be home by 7, and so that's the time they fill it out. And what they ended up doing was, if their car broke down or the things went late, they'd find themselves in contravention of the law based on this form. So Dave says, 24 hours a day, right? That's when you're going to be transporting it. You want it for the maximum length of time, every day of the week, all approved gun clubs and ranges. And everybody started filling out their forms in that way, to the point where the firearms program started issuing ATTs without anyone having to fill that out. It was just normal. Everyone knew, yep, here we go, we do it. And I don't know why that didn't click on me sooner, but with the authorization to carry for wilderness and armored car guards and people working, myself personally instructing people, and then my school, Silvercore here, instructing people, have got a 100% success rate. I thought, if we template that, and everyone who's qualified and working in these different areas, it makes it just as easy as those ATTs were in the past for people to go through. And I think going one step further, having conversations like this will normalize the concept of what the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Section 7, says that we can do in both the individual's mind as well as any authorizing body for, let's say, the RCMP Firearms Program, if they're issuing an ATC for protection of personal life, which they have the ability to do. They have done in the past, and we've worked on, it was a gun store, and at the time there was threats being made to different stores, and organized crime was saying, look, we're going to come in and do something. And so people were rightfully concerned. I think there was one on the island. There was I think it was a husband and wife that ended up getting shot at one of these gun stores. I'd have to find the exact details, or one of the listeners will have it there. People are getting concerned about it. The firearms program says, okay, not a problem. You've met the training. You've done the training, the same kind of stuff an armored car guard would do. Yes, there is a threat out there, and we've been able to identify it. And at A, B, C, D, all the way as it went through. But there is one caveat in there. And it said, if police protection is not adequate. And the firearms program turned around and said to these individuals who are applying, all you have to do is get a letter from the chief of the police in your area, and this time it was the Surrey area, so get the chief of police out in Surrey, just write us a letter saying that police protection in Surrey is not adequate to protect you. And consequently, no police chief is going to sign that. No one's going to say, we can't protect you. And they weren't issued it. And I thought it was kind of a cheesy way for this system to work around being able to issue people who were trained, qualified, had a threat, all the rest, by using policy to try and circumvent it. And my hope is by talking about these sort of things, maybe it can normalize the thought process of, okay, who are we to say that somebody else can't protect their own life, particularly if we've covered our butt, if we're issuing this, because they've met all of these different requirements.
I don't think, excuse me, I don't think you'll see that any day soon coming from Ottawa.
No.
However, if a province wanted to get, I was going to say get creative, but not even get creative.
Yeah.
Okay, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, trifecta maybe. They have options.
Mm-hmm.
They manage, create, amend provincial legislation for the security programs, which I believe are provincial.
Yes.
Like the Armored Car Guards.
Yep.
So Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, for example, could get together, maybe just to piss Ottawa off, but more importantly, because again, these cute one-liners are just kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm interested in compassionate, common sense, middle of the road public policy. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent a good portion of my life trying to advocate both within my organization, other organizations, the shooting community, for sound public safety policy. So Alberta could choose, I guess, to say we are going to issue under the securities program ATCs to not only our armored car guards, but to qualified civilians.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we want our armored car guards and everyone else who carries guns in our society, because there's quite a few peace officer status. What do we require of them? Well, we want safe, competent permit holders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Alberta could do that, and there's probably nothing the federal government can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alberta might go, and initially go, I'm not so sure. And that's fair. I mean, we get good policy by exploring our options.
Sure.
So Alberta could do it, or they could get together all three of the provinces, perhaps. But before we go to civilian ATC, which, if implemented, I guess to the same standards of the Armored Car Guards, it would be slightly different because it's concealed carry as opposed to open carry. Why don't we look at the resources that we already have in this country, which are serving peace officers? Why? So I termed something I came up with years ago, and I'm not the only one who's thought of this. I call it the LLDA, the Last Line of Defense Act. And that would allow serving and honorably retired peace officers the ability to carry off shift. And I use the term off shift, not off duty. Under the RCMP Act, they own us 24/7. End of story. I have no problem with it. I will conduct myself to the appropriate standards, and in some cases, I think my standards are higher than the organization's.
Sure.
So we're like, I've got ex-military experience a million years ago, but I'm a firearms instructor. We're trained in active shooter, indoor and outdoor response. I requalify with shotgun, carbine, pistol every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firearms instructor. I've had some covert training. There are current police officers, peace officers with those skills everywhere. And there's people who were formerly on ERT, former air marshals, former military. They all have those skills. So I think what we should be looking at in this community or public safety crisis in our country is allowing serving peace officers the individual choice to carry off shift. But I've heard from other cops, I don't trust some of my coworkers to carry off shift. Okay, well, have you brought your concerns up to the supervisor that you don't trust them when they're working? No, of course not.
Right.
So we don't have anything to address what I call that death gap in a violent crisis. Like we've changed a lot of laws in our country because of mass casualty events. Some cost $1 billion, some which might cost a couple more billion on one incident alone, or 2 incidents, or 3. So clearly, there's an interest to try and reduce mass casualty events.
Sure.
Right? And it's bad enough with one person, let alone mass casualty events. We're already trained. We work in our communities. We know who's who in our communities. We know what to look for in our communities. We get intelligence bulletins all the time. And we've got all those specialists who go to work 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off in our communities. It would cost taxpayers nothing. Nothing. And here's the thing is, you'll get police officers saying, oh, I don't trust my coworker. Okay, well, they carry every day at work anyways. What's the problem? And then they go, well, what about a blue on blue? An officer has a gun at a scene and they're on days off. Our plainclothes police officers go for coffee every morning.
Yeah, you don't have problems there.
They go for lunch every day. They go for afternoon coffee. Most of them don't wear their vests, their soft body armor. Most of them don't take a radio with them. They just go. No problems. None. A number of police officers carry their guns to and from home on their hip, either in uniform. Some will just take their gun in a plainclothes holster and go home too, because they're on call, they work special units, and some will lock it up in the lockbox. Really no problems, right? So this is a worst case scenario, a violent crisis, which the governments have spent millions, if not over $1 billion on. Having the LLDA, as I call it, off-shift carry, costs taxpayers absolutely nothing. And it's the exact same people you're calling in an emergency to come and save your life.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's kind of like the Switzerland approach where everyone gets mandatory conscription, mandatory training, and then they're sent home with a firearm. And I think in Switzerland they lock them up, but if they need them, there they are. They're ready because they realize that having properly trained individuals out there who can be mobilized at a moment's notice is way better than trying to centralize all of this and react. And it's also got the other effect on things too. Who is this off-duty officer? I don't know. I'm in a crowd. I'm in a public place. I'm at a political event like what recently happened here in the States and with Trump. Who's the individual who's carrying and who isn't? Like there is that saying, an armed society is a polite society. And I've had people from the UN say, no, you have no idea what we've seen in different third world countries. And definitely an armed society is it's not a polite society. But the idea that maybe Mike Tyson's approach, right? Where he talks about everyone's gotten way too comfortable mouthing off at others, they haven't got smacked in the face. If you are somebody who's up to no good, but there is a threat of getting smacked in the face, well, maybe you'll hold your mouth a little bit. Maybe you'll decide not to do something, or maybe you'll you'll hold yourself to a different standard. I don't know.
Well, the deterrence effect. There's
Right.
also, in the big picture, mutually assured destruction, MAD. So people who object to civilian ATC, or what they call CCW in the States, concealed carry weapon. Again, Canadians don't know what really our Canadian firearms laws are.
Right.
Very few of them don't know what the different concealed carry laws are in various states south of the border. They don't know what they are in Brazil, Czech Republic. They don't know. Yeah. They just, I've heard bad things about the States. I see the stuff on the TV. It's no good. You're getting a skewed view from that because, we all know in journalism, if it bleeds, it leads. It's going to hit. I mean, I've seen outrage. There was a politician a couple of years ago that said, with all the sad face and everything, no one needs an AR-15 to take down a deer. Well, most Canadians would just nod their head and go, yeah, true story. Well, they were prohibited. You were never allowed to hunt deer with AR-15. So I would suggest they misled the Canadian public, right?
Yes.
And I saw a CBC documentary, a short one, on military-style rifles. And they finished the segment with a gentleman at the range putting a fully loaded 30-round magazine into the rifle, cocking it, and firing the whole 30-round magazine on full auto. Okay, well, we've had 5-round restrictions for magazines for centerfire rifles for years. And fully automatic weapons were, I think, banned in Canada in 74, maybe. Everyone who had machine guns in 74 or full automatic weapons were allowed to keep them. They were grandfathered.
Right. How many full auto shootings do you hear about?
I've never heard of one ever.
Right. Yeah, they're still in the safes of all these people who had them.
So, again, we're talking a worst case scenario. I get people are anxious about the concept of peace officers carrying off shift or even civilians. But what we need to look at, and we should, is, do you know anything about CCW concealed carry programs in the United States?
I've done some training down there, yes.
Right? So most Canadians don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Most peace officers don't have a clue, right?
I think it was Utah have got a CCW permit for them because they had reciprocity with other states. And but there's training. There's training that people have to get in order to get these. And the biggest part about that training is don't use your gun, right? Essentially, don't be pulling that gun out unless your life or life of a third party is in danger, and you can qualify that.
And they have different states have different rules.
Yes.
Some have very little training. Constitutional carry states.
Right.
It's in the Constitution.
Here's your gun.
You can carry.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of open carry.
Yeah.
I carried openly in Arizona as a young lad. Creepy feeling. Really weird. For about 30 minutes, and then you just got on with your day.
Right.
But really weird to start with. I'm not a fan of open carry. I am a fan of compassionate, common sense, middle-of-the-road public policy. We already have a Canadian firearms safety course. We have pretty good legislation around wilderness carry to protect life.
Sure.
Most police services and other services that carry guns have good provincial and federal standards. Allowing peace officers currently serving the choice to carry off shift enhances. Now, it's not perfect. Okay, there's nothing perfect. We have cars.
Perfect, yeah.
Untold carnage with cars. Untold carnage with cigarettes. Untold carnage with fast food. But we're talking about how to address a worst case scenario, murder in progress, a potential mass casualty event. And I'm telling you right now, we can't respond any faster than it takes to go through all those steps. And that gap, by the time dispatch gets the call, dispatches it properly, accurately, we gear up roadside. And again, we will move heaven and earth to get there as quickly as we can. A whole bunch of people are dead. And we've seen it all around the world. This isn't just an American thing. It's not just a North American thing. So I think the LLDA, as I call it, is the answer. I know some people will be uncomfortable with it. We should try and alleviate their fears by just giving them the facts. We don't have to make anything up. We don't have to sugarcoat anything. There's enough people out there that are, don't suffer from anxiety or super anti-gun or any number of things, or just people with good intentions.
Sure.
Ottawa's never going to go for it. We know that. Province of Alberta, for example, could say, we want our peace officers in the province of Alberta to have the individual choice to carry off shift. Maybe there's a one-day course for plainclothes peace officers. There isn't now. I see people in plain clothes, what the public might call undercover. It just means plain clothes, out of uniform.
Yeah.
Undercover is a separate specialized job description. But and they're carrying holsters that are clearly like, you're carrying a gun, dude. Like, hello.
Well, you're looking. Most people aren't that observant, but yes.
So and yeah, I mean, I'm covert operations or low-vis operations, usually your biggest first safety mechanism layer is the fact you're covert, that they can't see you're carrying a gun. And I've seen people on surveillance, and I'm like, ooh, we need to do something with your gun belt, your holster, your clothing. We can do a much better job because some of the people that we're following during the, I was going to say current gang war, but it's been going on for decades. If they think you're carrying a gun, and not all of us are nice, clean cut, clean shaven, like you look like a gangster.
Right. I
would be afraid if you were walking, behind me on the street. So, we can do a much better job internally with our day-to-day operations. It's a no-brainer for Alberta or any province to address, and it's not just the current public safety, community safety issues in the last, let's say, decade. The LLDA, Last Line of Defense Act, is really, I think, the best solution. It's both counterterrorism legislation, but at the end of the day, it's just public safety legislation. And there's nothing that can touch it. People may oppose it for any number of reasons, which I've discussed, including some police officers or peace officers.
Sure.
But do you have anything better to address that gap? And in my 61 years on this planet, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard a better suggestion. It's not perfect. Human conflict isn't perfect.
No.
A violent crisis or any crisis isn't perfect. You do the best you can. I think this is the best we could do. Alberta's going to say we want our peace officers to have the individual choice to carry off shift. The RCMP would likely say, not in your life. I don't know. Maybe Alberta says, well, we'll take that into consideration when we renew your contract.
Right.
But they could say to Edmonton, Calgary, Lethbridge, whatever, this is what we want. And I think they would go with it. They could try and they should discuss it. They should bring up any concerns they have, questions they have. But at the end of the day, we're all carrying on duty anyways. And obviously, Alberta's got some leverage in terms of budgeting, any number of things. But we can't address what I call the death gap today. And I can't see, what are we going to do? Double police officers in the street? We can't even get enough police officers to get us to where we were when I started 25 years ago.
Right.
And things are getting worse. Population's growing. Problems are, things evolve. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. So we've got a community safety problem in this country. I'm focusing narrowly on mass casualty events. But, the odds of people say, well, what are the chances of you needing your service pistol off shift? What are the chances? What are the odds?
Right.
It's not about the odds. It's the stakes. It's life or death. It couldn't be more important. It couldn't be a worst case scenario. So it's not the odds of it happening. It's the stakes.
Yeah. If people ask me, what are the odds of me getting in a car accident? Well, it's been a long time since I've been in one. I'd have to say the odds are pretty low. So why do I wear a seatbelt? Because the stakes of not wearing it and getting into a car accident are going to be way worse.
Yeah.
So I like that last line of Defense Act suggestion. I like it because you're already starting with people who are trained, and it creates a palatable path forward for any government to say, well, it's okay because they've been trained before and we trusted them before. There's no reason not to trust them now. Oh, and look at this special course that we've now put them on. And so we've done our due diligence. We've covered our butt. But this would be for retired peace officers. This could be for...
Yeah. So I would include in the
Sure.
legislation honorably retired peace officers who have retired within the last, I don't know, maybe it would have to start from today, right? If you're honorably retired, you're good. Maybe if you've been out for 3 to 5 years, you're still good, but you're going to have to requalify. We will carry our service pistols that we carry every day now. If your department doesn't allow you to carry, right? Let's say Alberta does it, and there's some departments or police services that say no way. Can Alberta say, well, okay, you can't carry your department's equipment. We get it. It's their equipment. But we're going to allow you to carry off shift with your equipment. You will still have to pass your department's AFQ, annual firearms qualification, at your own cost on days off, but you do your department's course of fire with your own handgun. You can carry too. So your department says no, it's it's our equipment. I get it, and it's makes sense. They own it, and we're very risk averse these days, so
Sure.
that's part of the problem. But maybe there's a way to get around that. You're honorably retired. You're going to have to pay for your own, and you're going to have to qualify on the provincial standard, which is armored car guards.
I think that bears some discussion too, because there's going to be people who are listening to this and who would say, well, why is one person's life valued higher? Why is a peace officer able to do it and not me, or whatever it might be? And I think the reality is one person's life we're not saying one person's life is valued higher. From my perspective, this is a path forward that's easily palatable for a political party to be able to say, okay, we can get behind this. There's going to be those who are out there who say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And if I believe that my life is in danger, then I'm going to take, whether that's a firearm or not, I'm going to take steps to be able to protect myself and my family. And for these people, not that I'm advocating one way or the other, but it would be probably important for them to understand what those rights are for a private citizen, and they're the exact same as what an armored car guard would do. And for an armored car guard, they're trained on some tactical communication. I mean, it's a week-long course, really. Some places shorter. It's a really short thing. So empty-hand defense. They're trained on some scenario training, there's some legal studies, some firearms work, and their use of force model is different from what you would see for a law enforcement officer. A law enforcement officer does not have a big old disengage all around it because that's their job to actively go out there and engage. if there's a less violent means available, the private citizen has to take it. If there's a less violent means available that they can save their life or life of a third party, and a reasonable and prudent individual, what do they call it? The reasonable man doctrine or something like this. Somebody with the same life experience and the same situation or same or similar situation would reasonably come to the same conclusion. If there is a less violent means available, you have to take it. But if there is no less violent means available, you are justified in using as much force as necessary in order to stop the threat. And that doesn't mean if the person pulls a knife, you pull a knife. If the person pulls a gun, you pull a gun. To stop the threat, you're not matching the threat. You're going one step above so that you can stop it. It's not a battle of who's got the better cardio and who's got the better fitness. And then I guess there's probably some discussion about the before, the during, and the after, which would be important for people to know about. But I'll just kind of get the conversation maybe rolling on that one a little bit. Do you have thoughts on that?
The bottom book right there is the before, during, and after.
So I'm going to hold this one up here.
It's written in the United States for primarily civilians with concealed carry permits. Masada Ayub needs no introduction to anyone who's familiar with defensive firearms use. He's been around for decades. I feel that book is mandatory reading for anyone who has a serious interest in anything related to self-defense. That book is not about tactics and techniques. There's lots of other shooting schools and books that will do that. That is the before, during, and after. And I think anyone who carries a firearm professionally in this country should own that book.
It's called Deadly Force, Understanding Your Rights to Self-Defense.
And again, self-defense is self-defense.
Right.
Human combat is human combat. And our laws are very similar to many in the States. But again, it's highly relevant to Canada. So if you're interested in self-defense, that's one of the best books. And I've read nonstop since I was 12. Anyone who carries a firearm professionally in this country should have that book. I think Crown Counsel and prosecutors should have that book. Defense counsel should have it. Homicide investigators should have it. Use of force instructors should have it. Police unions should have it. The IIO, SIU units and organizations that investigate police use of force, they should have it. It's the best book that I've found, whether you're allowed to carry a gun or not, and for all those other groups. I just talked to Crown Counsel for Alberta and BC recently. They're the Firearms Crowns.
Yeah. Is that Todd?
No.
Okay.
It was a woman from BC and another gentleman from Alberta.
Yeah.
And they were very interested. And the other book, of course, they were interested as well. So I will be sending one copy of this book published by Harvard University to both of them. And Deadly Force is available on Amazon.
So the other one you have is To Keep and Bear Arms by Joyce Lee Malcolm.
Yeah, and published by Harvard University. She's a history professor, and she's just written on English common law around firearms from the English Bill of Rights in 1689, I think, up until the early 1900s. So I think anyone who owns a firearm should own To Keep and Bear Arms. I think every gun store in the country should have To Keep and Bear Arms. It should be in all 24 law schools in the country. I know it's at UBC, at the law school there already.
You put it there?
I did not.
No?
I was going to.
Okay.
Because I'm actually working on donating these books at my own cost to, Crown Counsel, Parliamentary Library in Ottawa, 24 Law School. So that saved me a couple bucks.
Not bad.
We have it already.
Okay.
So And that's English common law, which is the foundation of our legal system, the American legal system. The Americans got their Second Amendment from the British. Now, the British have lost all their firearms rights for the most part, in kind of weird ways.
Yeah, they can have suppressors. We can't have suppressors.
Well, I mean, the gun-hating British, and they're not gun-hating, but the gun-hating British, they were walking around with MP5s in Heathrow Airport for decades.
I know.
Because of, in the 70s, the 80s, terrorism campaigns, IRA, the whole bit. You've got these old dudes running around the countryside in their tweed caps. My dad was from Scotland. I love tweed.
Yeah.
With their hunting rifles with suppressors on them.
Right.
What the public might call a silencer.
Yeah.
Because, the density of population in Britain, guns make noises. They're not that loud, but they're concerned about disturbing the neighborhood, the community. And we've had ranges close in Canada on bylaws for noise.
Right.
They've closed the ranges down because of that. Well, the answer is suppressors. But suppressors were banned, I think, in the 70s, silencers, because of American movies.
Right.
So people kind of, their heads exploded and got all worried about, oh my God, suppressors, we have to ban them. Like the martial arts movies in the 70s, throwing stars, nunchucks, butterfly knives.
Yeah, none of these are really super effective tools in most people's hands, but no, better prohibit them because we saw Bruce Lee and look at the damage he can do. Right.
So again, sound policy, I don't know that sound policy. I mean, I like some of our firearms laws here. I like some of the firearms laws in the United States. I wish the United States, some states had more of our firearms laws, but I wish we had some of theirs. Czech Republic does a good job. So I'm just interested in what works. I'm that kind of that sober second thought, that calm assessment. I'm not going to get all wound up either way. I'm not going to get too swayed by the left, the right, or anything else. Public safety isn't something to be messed with. You shouldn't be misleading people. You shouldn't be lying to them. There's ways of addressing public safety in Canada, particularly for mass casualty events. Again, like the LLDA, that is going to cost taxpayers nothing. Provinces could implement it. And, I don't know. We've got nothing else in its place. So why would you, look for reasons to oppose this when you have nothing concrete? You have no viable option in its place. So it's like it's like the students I meet at university or down on Wreck Beach when I used to work there. I've since moved on, but, I get it. You're mad. You're yelling. But do you have any suggestions for me as a police officer? Do you know any country that's doing a better job? Do you know any police officer or police service that's doing a better job? What we're looking for at the end of the day is to improve what we do for Canadians. And ideally, without spending tons of money. It's going to cost money, I get it. But the LLDA costs taxpayers nothing, and there's nothing that anyone has to address that death gap, as I call it.
I think we should probably let the listeners who aren't aware of what Wreck Beach is. So if people haven't been there, I'll let you explain what Wreck Beach is unless you wanted me to take the lead on that.
So Wreck Beach is maybe the oldest clothing optional beach in the country. And I believe this year or last year it won Best Nude Beach in the world. So, there's a couple of people down on Wreck Beach. It's at Pacific Spirit Park out by UBC, University of British Columbia. It's down 500 steps to the beach. It's a beautiful beach. Location is spectacular. But it's always been kind of hippie beach. I mean, there's people down there that were probably at Haight-Ashbury in 69.
Right.
Like for real.
Right.
Not many, but so it attracts a colorful clientele. There's a bit of a myth, an urban myth, I would suggest, that it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll and anything goes. That's not the case, but it's a unique place. We used to be quite confrontational with law enforcement decade and a half, a bit more ago. They didn't like us. Apparently, we didn't like them. That's been turned around nicely. The beach and policing and Metro Parks that runs the park itself, policing has asked them, police yourselves or we'll do it for you. And it's worked far better. The confrontations, the animosity, like it's really it's not nearly as wild as it used to be. A lot of international visitors go there not knowing it's clothing optional. A lot of students from the UBC go there and they're like, oh, okay, nude beach. We're from Europe. What's the big deal, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's a different place.
Yeah.
But it's not as crazy and wild as it used to be. There's more, more single females say, I'm comfortable coming here now. Young families, we wouldn't come here in the past. It's becoming a little bit mainstream, much to the displeasure of some of the
lifers,
hippies.
Yeah.
Or the nudists. I mean, they're naturalists, right? They're naturists rather.
Naturists. There you go. There you go.
They call people who wear their clothes and their bathing suits on the beach, they call them textiles. About, 30% are unclothed.
Do they do that in a derogatory way? The textiles?
Yeah, they kind of textiles, right? Yeah. So it's
spectators, people coming down looking for a show.
Hey, I did foot patrols on Wreck Beach last weekend. I was running the beach there for quite a few years. I maintained a good, respectful working relationship on that beach that I call an alien planet, on an alien planet.
Yeah.
During COVID, Black Lives Matter, as like I said, as someone called me, an old white colonial settler cop. So if we can maintain that type of relationship there during those recent times, we can do it anywhere in the country. We just got to get out of our cars, put the right people on the street, on foot or on bikes, and we can kind of get back to basics, which I think is what community safety and public safety in this country needs. I just think the country needs it.
I think an understanding of what those basics are and where this podcast can hopefully help, like when we understand what our charter rights are, what is acceptable in the courts, because the laws don't tell you what you can do, really. They tell you kind of what you can't do, and then the courts will come in and they'll say, okay, you were right or wrong in how you applied that. For individuals who are looking to or put into a situation where they might have to use deadly force, I would highly suggest they look at the Armor Car Guard model. You're right. My understanding is the same as yours. I shouldn't say you're right. My understanding is the same as yours insofar as we have a federal model for training for the Armor Car Guards, but it's administered provincially, just like ATT's geographical extent is administered provincially. Authorization to carry is the same sort of way. You can have these certifications transferred from one province to the other, or you can have them if firearms officers in BC and Alberta say, oh, you're going to be in between these two places, not a problem. I've done work with other businesses. There's a fellow on the island. I'm trying to remember the name of his business, but he was robbed. He had a jewelry store and ended up using deadly force. He had a gun. He was a sports shooter, and he had a gun that he's got a jewelry store. What safer place to store his firearm as well? Everything was legally kept. And anyways, that went before the courts. He came back and ended up getting himself certified to be able to carry based on the fact that there is a threat on the store. But I think they worked it not so much in the protection of life area. It was more in the cash or negotiables area. If your primary activity is I think they looked more sort of the armored car route. I know in BC here we've had other jewelry stores that have started to open up under the security programs division of BC the option for an armed presence, whether that be jewelry store owners or having armed security at their locations. So there are conversations that have been started over the years. Individuals looking at this would know that they'd have to look it through the Firearms Act regulations and the criminal code. They have to have an idea of what is justifiable. And the big three that Canada kind of stole, I think it was Masad Ayub was the one preaching it as well, was weapon intent delivery system. Was that an Ayub thing?
So I'm familiar with Masad Ayub for decades.
Sure.
I never trained with him.
Right.
And I've read one or two of his other books, but it was decades ago.
Okay.
I've read this one, I think 3 times now in the last 2 years. Laws evolve, as do societies, for better or for worse. Self-defense law is evolving in Canada slowly, which is a good thing. We don't live in a war zone.
Yeah.
The beauty of that book is Deadly Force is that the Americans have a far larger body of knowledge and experience with self-defense law. And our laws are very much the same. I don't think laws prevent crime. I think laws are used to deal with crime.
Sure.
Because the vast majority of people are good people. Good people outnumber bad people by far in everywhere in the world, and always will.
And that's an awesome thing to hear from somebody who's spent the last 25 years in policing and sees the worst in society at times. That's a refreshing thing to hear.
You know, I'm the eternal optimist. It's getting a little bit harder the way the world is going. I still like people. I wouldn't have lasted one season on a wrecked beach had I not liked people.
Right.
And had half a clue how to talk to them. Or probably, you know, at what some would call a left coast university. As an old white colonial settler cop. Like, I mean, what else have I got against me? The discussion is changing around public safety in this country. The world seems to be slipping everywhere. You know, Europe kind of used to be the gold standard, not anymore.
Right.
And what we talk about, what we call public safety, which is my mandate. Public safety community safety is comprised of 2 essential pillars. You need both of them to have effective, enduring community safety. One of those pillars is one we're familiar with, called public safety. That's the core mandate of governments at all levels: municipal, provincial, and federal. The other one is personal safety, which is everyone's right, and if you choose, your responsibility. I had a woman talk to me recently. She goes, you know, a woman's right to choose is how, when, and if to defend her life and the lives of her children. That's a woman's right to choose. Because if I'm not safe, I don't get to make any decisions on reproductive rights, my hijab, my necklace, my pin, who I love, like, and she's of course right. And, you know, I mean, so community safety relies on public safety and personal safety. You can ignore your own personal safety, as many people do. That's fine. I mean, the first rule of personal safety is usually in, you know, I'll talk about in university or college or even high school. Put your phone away. And you've lost half the class or more, right? They're young. they're going to live forever. They're bulletproof. Nothing bad's ever going to happen. I get it, right? But, owning a firearm doesn't make you safe in and of itself any more than owning a guitar makes you a musician.
Right. Good point.
So, there's the before, the during, the after. That's the beauty of Masada Ayoub's book, Deadly Force. Amazon. The other book, Harvard University Press, a little bit harder to get. You're already armed. Like people say, why do you want to become a cop? I said, well, I need a job where there's no math. So I went down the list of jobs that don't require any math. I went down. I'm like, cop. No math plus gun, which is kind of mathematical a bit, but I could figure it out. And I'm like, I'm going to be one of those, right? Because they'll ask me in classes, because there's people in high school, university, college, why do you become a cop? Because there's a good percentage there that are interested in a law enforcement career.
Sure.
And some are lawyers and the whole bit. But I'm like, well, I wanted to live my life armed. And they don't know what that means. They kind of like.
I've never heard somebody say that before. It's always, I want to help others. I like dealing with people, which are all parts of it, I'm sure.
So again, I went, I don't know, my dad worked for the federal government, safety.
Yeah.
I grew up watching war movies on Saturdays as a kid.
Sure.
Cop shows as a kid. Firearms were kind of neat.
Yeah.
My dad taught me to shoot a pellet gun at a fair in his hometown in Scotland when I was like 12. Like, my dad knows how to shoot? Where'd you learn to shoot? Oh, I was in the Army. My dad was in the Army? How cool is that? Right? He was in the British Army, 46, 47. But, there's a lot of thought to go into personal safety. But to get back to community safety, if you don't have one without the other, if you don't have personal safety and public safety, you don't have effective, enduring community safety. We've never had personal safety in this country. It's never talked about. It's in the criminal code. It always has been. It's in the Charter, Bill of Rights 1960, UN Declaration of Human Rights 1948. It's always been around, but we don't talk about it in Canada. And probably for a positive reason is that, we live in a very, or have lived in a very, again, stable country.
So you think that's the reason why? You think it's because we haven't really had to talk about it because things have been stable? Or
Partly.
Yeah.
Partly. The other reason is, and you can really see it now, there's an ideology out there that, and maybe they're just using the United States as an excuse. You can pick many countries or societies that have terrible levels of violence. We just pick the States because I guess we get their news, we get their TV.
Sure.
And really, most Canadians don't know about firearms laws and crime in other countries, but they watch TV, they kind of catch the bad news stories from south of the border. So that makes sense. But how good is government at doing anything? They're okay, but you don't usually look at government and go, they're rock stars, they're killing it. So I don't know, what would you rate government's record on public safety in this country in the last decade? Pretty low. But let's say government got it 100% right. All levels, municipal, provincial, federal. Not a chance. But if we got public safety 100% right, we're still missing a full 50% of what community safety needs for it to be effective and enduring.
That's the individual safety, personal safety.
Again, and that's up to the individual. Do I think everyone should walk around with a handgun? No. Constitutional carry, there's a pistol? No, right? I mean,
Sure.
Most of us in shooting sports who own farms absolutely want government restrictions on firearms possession and the use of.
Some people just suck at life, and some people shouldn't be have the same rights and freedoms as others if they've demonstrated a past history. The best predictor of future performance is past performance. So I'm not one of these people who's ever been, everyone needs a gun in their hand, everyone's got a God-given right. And I've gotten heat for that in the past, but and just for those reasons that I've mentioned. Yeah, I agree with you.
So that part is, and people say, well, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, our public spaces were safe. You were safe out in public. For the most part. I get it, it's changed considerably in the last decade plus. What was never safe was behind closed doors. So our public spaces were safe. But it was never safe for women and girls behind closed doors. And it still isn't. And it's gotten worse. Epidemic of domestic violence, intimate partner violence. I mean, I kind of study violence. Political violence, terrorism, gang violence, intimate partner violence, gender-based, whatever. Violence is violence. I mean, there's some differences, but...
I was reading something about COVID and that being one of the massive negative byproducts of the lockdowns were increased alcohol consumption and increased domestic violence. And
I heard this from a few females whose husbands retired from policing recently. He's home every day. I get it. And the feeling might be mutual. I don't know. But no, true. So an increase in intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, domestic violence, I still believe we're allowed to choose our own words, call it what you want. So that's been a problem. And it's still a problem. It will always be a problem. I mean, ideally, we in the public safety profession do a better job of prevention. But once violence has happened, it's really too late. It's done. If you survive it, and the vast majority of people survive it,
sure,
and the vast majority of people survive all crimes. But again, it's not the odds of it happening so much as stakes. Violence changes people's lives. Just the thought of violence makes people very uncomfortable, particularly if you've experienced it or seen it. So you understand why people get kind of emotional about the concept of perhaps the LLDA or civilian ATC, authorization to carry. And you'll get the emotions on both sides because the victims who, a female with her 2 young children who've moved up north to get away from her violent partner down here, she's got some very legitimate and emotional stories, right? I mean, life is not safe. Bad things happen to good people every day in this country. Big cities, small towns, and in the middle of nowhere, everywhere in between. And by bad things, I mean terrible, horrific acts of violence. And it's getting worse.
And it's clear the impact that it has on people. It's clear the impact, the exposure to that violence is having on you right now. It's, I think that's the impetus for the conversation for personal safety.
Yeah. When I left my last posting in a 4-week period, posting the last jurisdiction that I worked, we had my team, 3 constables, all on their first posting out of depot, and myself. We had 4 suicides and a homicide in a 4-week period. Now that's an anomaly, but it happens. It was just my team's turn. It's just the way it worked out. So, the focus has to be on prevention, but you can't or shouldn't deny. So, most people, everyone has the right to be safe. Criminal code says you can, the whole bit. My position is you can't deny a law-abiding adult Canadian the right for a civilian ATC, authorization to carry, a handgun, except on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
And there are shall issue permits states in the United States, and there are may issue permit states. We have, I guess, what we call a may issue system. You can apply for civilian authorization to carry in the wilderness to protect life. They don't allow it in urban areas or anywhere else. And they may issue you a permit. Now, if you apply for a permit and you are a retired police officer who's got all this training, you won't get it.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a victim of domestic violence. You won't get it. You could be. So it's a may issue permit system. In reality, you're not going to get a civilian ATC.
It's a not issue system.
It's a not issue system. So and in the United States and in other jurisdictions around the world, it's a shall issue permit system.
Mm.
You apply for civilian ATC. If you meet this list of requirements, which the government determines, they shall issue you your permit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no discretion.
Mm-hmm.
That's constitutional.
Mm-hmm.
That would pass, I think, the charter test. The government can make the we all want the government to restrict, again, firearms possession and use. But they have to be relevant standards. You can't make a permit $10,000 because you want to deter people from having their permit, right? So they have to be relevant standards. And what's the relevant standard in BC? What the armored cars guards do.
Sure.
That's it. We don't need to train everyone up to be Navy SEAL, JTF,
right?
Guys from Hereford. Like, we don't. It has to be relevant standards, and the standards will be lower than what I would have to do as a peace officer because the requirements and the situations are different. We want safe, competent ATC permit holders.
Have you ever heard of a civilian being issued an ATC or experienced that? Maybe because I've heard of it.
Way back.
Right. I've heard of judges working on cases, and I'll put a big allegedly around here. Allegedly, I've heard of judges who weren't issued permits but would carry anyways because there was a threat on their life and their safety, and figured they would rather live through it than not.
And it's too bad that you've got peace officers that carry all day long on duty and aren't allowed to carry off shift and could face internal sanctions, a code of conduct. Probably not criminal if you're carrying your service pistol. If you were carrying your personal pistol,
probably not criminal again. I mean,
maybe not.
We've seen examples of
right?
that.
So, but it's too bad.
Right.
That's where we're at. And as community safety deteriorates worldwide, and we in traditional police emergency response can't really address what I call that death gap. Now's the time. Now, it still would have been the right time 25 years ago. I think quick stats, United States defensive gun uses are at 1.6 million. The number's probably a bit low. Murders, 19,000 something. Let's just bump it up. So 20,000 murders, not including suicides.
So murder would be justifiable and not justifiable? Would that be homicide or would that be...
Homicide.
Okay.
So 20,000 homicides, 1.6 million defensive gun uses. Homicides are probably a bit high. 1.6 million defensive gun uses, DGU, probably a bit low for obvious reasons.
Great.
87% plus of those defensive gun uses, the firearms never fired.
Right.
Right? The firearms have a particularly effective coercive effect. They incentivize people to go in the opposite direction, stop what they're doing, surrender in the vast majority of cases.
Stop, regroup, choose a more desirable course of action.
And occasionally, buddy pushes it and it's on, and they get themselves shot or whatever happens, right? So what is the most, so right now we've got the firearm freeze. We used to have the reasons for shooting in Canada were hunting, shooting sports, and collecting. The government has maintained that to protect life is not a reason to own a firearm. If you say that when you're getting your possession and acquisition license, you'll be denied, the whole bit. Absolute nonsense.
Right.
It's like saying, the only time you can get a permit to have sex is to make babies, but that's it, right? We're all going to cross our fingers behind our back and say, yep, it's only for, and it's just madness. So that alone is a charter breach, right? Like Section 7 is the most important reason to own a firearm is to protect life. Number one, hunting second, sports shooting third, and collecting fourth.
Sure.
That's it. And we need to say that. And it doesn't mean we're it's just stating the obvious.
Because people will do it. They'll get a firearm for protection of life, but they play the song and dance game of, oh, no, it's because I want to collect, or it's no, because I'm going to be a sports shooter. Oh, okay, what club do you belong to, right? What range do you belong to? Oh, I got to show my range membership or my club membership, otherwise they're not going to approve my license, or they're not going to approve the transfer of firearm into my name. Oh, here's the club I belong to. They've never gone there once.
Tell them what they want to hear.
Right.
You're good. It's like filling any form out. Make it as easy as possible. Now, obviously, I recommend everyone tell the truth on government forms.
Yes.
But I mean, you're doing applications for jobs or any number of things, right? Make it as easy as possible for them to understand it and say yes. So I'm not advocating anyone lie on their forms, but I know out of every firearms owner I know, to protect life is not, for most of them, is not the primary reason they own that firearm. For some it is.
Sure.
But for the majority, it's not. But it's a close second for most of them. They all know that in a civil strife, natural disaster, that the firearm is part of emergency safety equipment, like food, like water, fuel for your car, it's just a firearm is emergency safety equipment. It's other things, but to me, that's what it is first. It's a reactive defensive tool. And, so the government's going to say, no, handgun has no use. Well, firearms have no use to protect life. Really? What does every country on the planet issue its government officials to protect life? Handguns. Particularly handguns.
Sure.
Because you can have it with you, it's concealable. So, it's not just a bit of a stretch. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense when they come out and say, oh yeah, there's no handguns have no purpose. They're the most effective tool on the planet to protect life, particularly for those who are getting on in years, have some physical limitations and challenges, females.
What's that saying? God made man, Sam Colt made man equal.
Right? I mean, most Canadians know a couple where the male outweighs the female by 100 pounds or more, right? She's 130, he's 230. I follow domestic violence. I like I said, in April, I was at a homicide, and it was a domestic. Men may use firearms to kill women on top of every other tool that they use. But no man needs a firearm to kill a woman, for the most part.
For the most part.
Right? Some choose a firearm to kill a female, but it's the females, because of the disparity of size and strength, and just we've got way more testosterone than they do. We're more aggressive. We just are. It's just the species. So it's not men that suffer the most having a handgun freeze. It's women. Now, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, the women are suffering here. The majority of women won't own firearms to protect themselves in Canada, just like the majority of firearms don't own firearms to protect themselves.
Right.
But some do and some could.
I think normalizing the why you're getting the firearm with the firearms program on the application is a good first step for people. And the number of times I've dealt with the firearms program and they say, don't tell me that, tell me this. Like, for example, I got a gun here, I need to register, right? You've got the system, you got these rules, we got to make sure it's registered up. Where'd you get the gun? Oh, I got it from ABCD, whatever the situation might be. Just tell me you found it in your attic, they say. No, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, tell me this. Look at Travis. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm doing this over the phone, but just tell me this. It'll go through easier. I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you about where I got this thing from, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be playing that game. And eventually it'll go through. But I've lost count of the number of times that I've been told to say certain things because it'll make their job easier to approve. They just want to help you. They're being a good person. But it doesn't help everybody else if we're not normalizing a process which should be normal.
So talking about rights, I'll have this discussion with some of the guys from Gunsight, Northern Arizona, right? I mean, a golf course is the deliberate and willful misuse of a rifle range. Well, maybe not in Southern Arizona, but Northern Arizona maybe. And they're like, rights this, rights that, left-wing, socialist, rah, rah, rah. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. Rights are for everyone, right? If you haven't figured out how to articulate your rights, that's not my problem. That's yours. I'm sure that there is a hierarchy of rights. I haven't really researched it or studied it or whatever, but pretty sure security of person is at the top. And when I asked the Gunsight, some of the crew and who carry down the states, like, okay, well, if you could have only your choice, is it your Second Amendment choice or is it her right to choose? Ooh, I go, no, pick one, right? They all pick security of their person. And I'm like, so you could live with that? And they're like, and the conversation gets heated, I get.
Sure, yeah, it can be really emotional.
And that's okay. Like, we should be having these discussions. I mean, ideally, there's certain people that shouldn't be at the table, right? If anxiety and personal health issues, it's hard to think rationally or offer a particularly positive contribution, right? We can all agree on public safety. Again, what I call community safety. And if you need both, you need public safety, which is the role of government, and they don't do that good a job. And we have our own limitations. And Team Canada, which is that ball cap there, that's the intelligence services, the military, it's the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, the police, corrections, like it's the courts. It's Team Canada's a big team. But most of us are old conservative bureaucracies, which aren't the most efficient at a lot of things. So we need the personal safety, and that's a right. The government doesn't have to approve it. Canadians just have to accept it.
They have to do it. They have to take it.
You have to do it. Rights aren't like oxygen. I'm not going to walk out of here and be surrounded by my rights.
Right.
Rights need to be maintained. They need to be discussed. They need to be kind of on the shelf in a prominent location all the time. You have to fight for your rights. And I'm not some right-wing or left-wing, like I'm just, we have rights. Charter's the supreme law of Canada. They're not going away. The West kind of believes in rights. I get it. There's some cultures and religions that don't. Oh, well, that's not us. Our Supreme Court's going to make decisions on a charter breach, roadside or at a search warrant or whatever, based on our charter and our concept of rights and our English common law and our history, right? And most people that I talk to love Canada for that, love the West, right? A lot of the Southern Hemisphere is trying to get to Europe. Colonial, racist Europe. They're risking their lives and their family lives to get there because of rights. Economic opportunities too, I get it.
Sure.
But, again, when I meet people from all over the world at UBC and then now where I'm working currently, they're like, you guys are rock stars. You guys are awesome. And, I would see some of the students for their whole 4-year career, right? And they'd pop by the office when they were going back to Zimbabwe or wherever they were going, give you a wave. Thank you. Like, it's not like that back home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lovely feeling. Frustrated in my line of work, for sure. The bucket can fill up after 25 years, and I kind of dealt with that recently. I was the peer-to-peer counselor at my office, looking at my young teammates, going to these horrific calls, checking in, how you doing, but looking as well as listening to their answers, because sometimes they don't match. And I can refer them to where they might need to call, go see someone, the whole bit. And then I noticed some stuff at work. One morning in particular, I got in my supervisor's vehicle. We went for coffee, parked it, and then my buddy left country music on in the truck. I'm like,
not your thing.
I left it on.
Yeah.
And it was okay. And this song came on, and I find myself bawling by myself, having had coffee, good sleep, and I'm like, what just happened there? No idea what was going on. Just like, that's not normal. Because
no, that is probably normal. That is normal for someone who's same life experiences, same background. That experience is normal. And I think the problem that people have is saying the feeling that it's not normal, maybe feeling ashamed or whatever it might be. But it's not the normal that you want at the moment, but it's the normal that you have. And it's probably a real good indicator that there's some steps that need to be taken.
A normal reaction to some very abnormal. Sadly, those incidents aren't abnormal. They happen every day to people in this country. But, my nickname with some of my buddies is Spock. I don't do emotion, undemonstrative, and I'm like, that's not normal for me. Like, where did that come from? So I'm like, So I'm like, okay, that's weird. Let's just, and what it turned out to be is we had a number of fatalities, and there's a lot of kids obviously at university, and we all have our bucket. Sometimes is small, sometimes it's big. It can overflow sooner than others. We've all got different levels of resiliency, the whole bit. And I was pretty good, 22 years. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing fine. Until I wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I kind of, okay, that's weird. Not sure what happened there. Let's just put it on the back burner and see what's going on. Right. And then one or two other small things, and you're like, and then, you feel a tap on your shoulder, and you turn around, and there's that big black hooded figure with the scythe, right?
Mm.
And you're like, I know you, right? And you're like, me? Like, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I was looking for it in my team.
Yeah.
But they're 3, 4, 5 years in. I'm 25 years in. So I got more stuff in my bucket. And maybe a bit of age, nostalgic as we age. So I'm like, okay, I know who you are now, and I know what's going on now. And I know right now you're kind of running the show. But now that I've recognized what's happening, operational stress injury, PTSD, injuries, my goal is to manage you. And then let's get you out of the picture altogether. So it can be, if you don't recognize it early, it can be, recognizing it early is obviously the best with anything, right? You're not feeling well physically, mentally. So recognizing it early was good. Knowing what to do as the peer-to-peer counselor, excellent.
That's helpful, isn't it?
So, and then just getting on it.
Well, if you remember, Spock didn't lack emotion. Spock was just highly contained.
Disciplined.
He was disciplined, highly contained, and very logical in his approach. But didn't Spock also have, he was half Vulcan, half human, if I remember something right? But I do know that Spock actually did have emotion, because I remember that eventually came out at some point.
Yeah.
And the real Trekkers, whatever, are probably going to eat me alive for that one. But
I didn't watch it too much. I kind of watch it a bit. But
I'm just going back in my memory bank, so I didn't watch it at all.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's just a nickname I got, because I'm again, and I did that psychological test for this human source development course we were doing, and I came across, I scored, it was a strong SI, so steady and influential. Not just even keeled. Keep calm, carry on. So it's been a bit of an interesting couple of years. My psychologist gave me a good book. Which is a fantastic book if you're just a student of human nature.
What's the book called?
I don't know. I can't remember it.
Okay.
But I've got it at home, and it's on my coffee table.
Yeah.
And it was just from a policing perspective, from a human interest. It was just so good. And yeah, I've thrown in a few because I was always pretty good at self-care. Single guy, no kids. I live alone. My family moved away when I was in high school. And just, I got a few of them in Halifax, but I'm pretty good at self-care because it's only me. But I didn't really miss anything. In fact, I kind of caught it quickly. I just didn't know exactly right away what was going on. But it was on it pretty quick. And yeah, positive coping strategies are way better than the maladaptive coping strategy.
Yeah, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but the fact that you reached out and you want to help other people with their own personal safety seems to be a strong strategy where you can positively affect others moving forward.
Safety takes many forms. So when I said I wanted to live my life armed, when the kids asked me, why did you want to become a cop, right? I said, I need a job with no math, wanted to live my life armed, but really, I'm just a believer in rule of law, fair play, mean people suck. That's it. Life is hard enough as it is. Life can be horrific, way more than I think the public know. Right? I used to read, I think it was a bi-weekly sex assault report of all the reported sex assaults in the Lower Mainland every 2 weeks. I just stopped reading them because it was so long. Like there were so many.
That's just the reported
and it's only
ones.
3, 4, 5% of all of them that are even reported. So I'm like, and I used to get read this Mexican intelligence report from Mexico too, and I was just like, ugh, full of pictures. I'm like, no, I'm just, I know what's going on, right? But we're already armed, right? We got eyes and ears, and we've got instinct. So that will carry you, if you're using those, most of the way through life, but not all the way, right? If you ignore your eyes and your ears and your spidey sense, your intuition, that gut feeling, or just straight up, there's something wrong here. The fact that you got eyes, ears, cell phone, or emergency safety equipment on your person. I mean, it's PPE, right? Personal protective equipment. But you have to be paying attention, right? So you have to be there's a number of prerequisites. You said the before, during, and the after. And again, that's what this book, Deadly Force, really goes into. It's not really tactics or techniques. It's things to think about beforehand, during, and there's a number of case studies that a lot of people will recognize from U.S. media, and then after, which is because
massive.
The organization you work for will give you a lawyer.
Sure.
Are you going to get a good lawyer? There's a lot of people in jail in the States because they had terrible lawyers. So they've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly far more than we have up in this country. So there's a wealth of experience in there. So I've recommended it to people who don't own firearms.
Well, Masada Ayub has got some good stuff out there on YouTube as well.
Yes.
There's one, there's actually two that I can think of. There's two really good videos that kind of deal with the after. One is Masada Ayub, and he's talking about dealing with a deadly force encounter, dealing with law enforcement afterwards, dealing with the courts. There's another one where there's I think he's a public defender in the States, and then he's got a police officer who comes in after him, and he says, look, I'm going to give you equal time to talk. I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to talk really quickly so I can get this all out. I've got X amount of time, and then you've got X amount of time. And his whole speech, the lawyer, was don't talk to the police, right? And it's an interesting one that I think everybody should read, everybody should watch. And it's not don't talk to the police because the police are out there to get you. The police are your friend, but if you're in a situation where you now are required to have to talk to the police, this lawyer outlines all the different ways that it can go sideways, even if you're telling 100% truth and you've got the best intentions. Goes through all of the different reasons. Then the police officer stands up, and now it's his half hour to talk, or his 10 minutes, whatever it was that his half time was. And he says, all I can say is just recapitulate what he said, because everything he said is true. Nothing you can do is going to be able to help you in the moment afterwards. You're not going to explain away everything and have it all figured out. There are some things you can do that'll make it worse, definitely. So Masada Ayub and the don't talk to the police video are very interesting after the fact ones, because if you are unfortunate enough to be in a situation where you weren't able to avoid it ahead of time during the before, or mitigate it, or cause it not to happen, and you found yourself in the during, and you're able to employ the stuff that you know in order to be able to get out alive, the after is the part that can really ruin most people. It can have the most negative effects after getting out of there, because the system that they figure is there to protect them, they don't feel like that if they've done things wrong, if they've said the wrong things afterwards.
Every lawyer in cells, when we put someone in cells or even roadside where they get their call to the lawyer, says, don't talk to the police. We'll figure this out. You've had a traumatic experience. You're under the influence of drugs and or alcohol. You're having a mental health break. Like, there's so many things. Like, now is not the right time. And, even we'll do our own debriefings, a more detailed debriefing, 72 hours down the road. once the dust has settled and our brain has stopped spinning and, we can process stuff. I mean, there's no shortage of research on the infallibility of eyewitnesses and all kinds of stuff like this,
Sure.
right? Memory, the same. We have a far better understanding of memory when you're going to get your best statement. We as police officers have a duty to account. So we have to kind of say to investigators that day or night, roughly what happened. I think some police forces now aren't even doing that. I don't know how that works. But, I think I owe it to the public and I owe it to the organization to give a very brief description as to what happened. But after that, it's self-care. And we'll get the rest sorted out. So this book, again, no one thinks, well, more people are thinking about it now in policing, is police officers are being charged. In rare occasions, one or two of them have gone to jail. Media scrutiny, politics, the politicization of everything. Thankfully, we don't elect our prosecutors or our judges because, what's the best way to make a name as a prosecutor or judge? Prosecute a cop, a movie star. I don't know. Those kind of the top.
Yeah, you get your stuff right out there.
And the book goes into that. And
there's one thing that I haven't seen this written about. I haven't seen it through the whole don't talk to the police and all the reasons behind it that I've never seen people advocate for. But it's one thing that I think people should consider, which is insofar as a lawyer, if you find yourself in a lethal force situation or whatever it might be, whatever, a roadside thing, whatever it might be, you talk to the lawyer, they said, okay, have you talked to the cops? Okay, what'd you say? Okay, don't say anything else, right? You're done, don't talk to them, we'll figure it out afterwards. The one thing that I haven't seen is the opposite, which is asking questions. Because everything that you can say, everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, that whole thing, Miranda rights or whatever.
Carmen Miranda?
That's right. We're in the world.
That's American. But
that's right. Oh, I know. That's American Miranda rights, but Canada, what do we have? It's just a warning, right? That's what they call it.
It's your charter rights.
Okay.
Yeah, your charter rights. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You've been chartered. You've been warned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warning.
It's your charter rights.
So that goes two ways too. If you ask questions back to the police, why am I being arrested? Why am I being detained? Without being a dink about things, because obviously there's going to be a human nature in there, but everything that's said back can also be used possibly in your favor in the future, in the same way that what you say in the moment can be used against you.
So when you're arrested, we tell you why, right? So right off the bat, you are under arrest for this. Do you understand? Right? And then we continue, you don't have to say anything you say can be used against you. Do you understand? Would you like to call a lawyer? Do you understand? And a lot of the time now it's recorded on a digital recorder. So the whole conversation is recorded. Now we're going to have body-worn video in the not too distant future. That's going to record stuff too. So I try and be as honest and open with everybody I deal with, including someone who you're arresting for a domestic homicide.
Sure.
Particularly with a serious file like that, right? You want everything done, slow it down, make sure you check off all the boxes. They're going to be rechartered and warned a number of times anyways once homicide or IHIT investigators get there. So, but I'm not out to trick anyone.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and I will.
Most police aren't. There's going to be that. My opinion. Growing up in a law enforcement family, dealing with a lot of dealing with law enforcement, both professionally and personally, is that the majority of law enforcement get in for very great reasons. They've got a good hiring process here in Canada. They've got good training in Canada. And we've got some phenomenal people. You're going to have your very small percentage that are just rotten apples.
Yep.
You're going to have your very small percentage that are just leagues above superstars. And then over time, people are people. And they're going to see, I just arrested that person and they're out again 10 minutes later. And
Yep.
man, I still got a job to do. There's a reason we have game trails, because animals take the easiest path.
Creature of habit.
People will take the easiest path. They'll still do their job. They're still, majority are going to be of a high caliber, but they'll just plug and play and go through. So by no means do we think that the policing are going to be out to get you. I think the majority of them are going to be well-intentioned, but if there's an easy path we can go through here, and I mean, ABC, we'll let the courts figure it out afterwards. I'll go through my process. If you give somebody their warning as a peace officer, okay, you're being arrested for A, B, C, and D. Well, stolen vehicle, right? Or whatever it might be, or speeding. Oh, did you see me speeding? Well, no, I mean, you matched the description. Well, what was the description, right? And all of these little things that you can go through, and I'm not advocating for bad people to get off the hook, but for people who haven't done something wrong, because I've dealt with others in similar circumstances. I've been in a similar circumstance in the past, and asking those questions at the time. Why do you feel this? Fair enough. I'm not fighting you, right? We're not turning this into a fight, but I'll ask some questions as you go through, because all of that can speed up a process later on. A process that might take, let's say, 8 years to work its way through a system could be sped up to, I don't know, maybe a month when they turn around and realize, okay, maybe we weren't operating off of the right information or circumstances. So that was one little piece that I've seen, the asking questions part, which I haven't seen out there.
And, it's interesting because people talk to me about certain policing stuff, right? I mean, once you got a cop in uniform there, because who talks to cops in uniform? I mean, when we knock on the door with bad news or we pull you over.
Right.
But when do you see a police officer just chilling? And most people won't approach a cop anyways. Right?
No.
Like to ask questions. So we have to put ourselves out there in our community, out of the cars, on foot, on bikes. Have to put the right people out there who are willing to talk to the public when the public come up to them.
Yes.
I would suggest you need to put the right people out there who will go and talk to the public, because many of them won't. And the minute the ice is broken, everything changes. So that's me. We're all different. Different stages of our career, good days, bad days. Policing can do better. So there's talk about changing the policing model in Canada to much how the Finnish policing model. Three-year program, kind of a combination between police college and post-secondary, with a focus on more relevant stuff: de-escalation, ground fighting, jiu-jitsu. So 6 months at Depot, or at the Justice Institute of BC, or at the Ontario Police College, or whatever it's called.
Sure.
I think we could use more than 6 months. You coming in with a 4-year degree of even criminology, okay. We know you can think critically about things, but can you pass the physical abilities test? There's a lot of things. I think as an industry, and I think we're moving in that direction, we can do better. We should do better. We're held to a high standard, which we should be.
Sure.
However, I think there's one group of individuals in this country who should be held to a higher standard.
Yes, I think I know who you're talking about.
And our elected officials don't seem to be very interested in being held to anywhere near the standard that we are. And I think that results in a lot of problems. I know some current mayors. I know some past mayors. I know someone who wants to be premier. I know the premier through my, I bumped into him a number of times. I gave him a couple of books. I gave him a book on transnational organized crime called McMafia. Fantastic book.
Yeah.
and had some discussions with them because it's what I do. But yeah, we need to up our game. For a fabulously wealthy country, our infrastructure's in a terrible shape.
I read a statistic about corruption, and it says, you go to Mexico, you go to some third world countries, and the rules are clear, right? You slip them some money, you get out of the speeding ticket. There's a lot of low-level corruption. Canada is next to none for low-level corruption. However, at the higher level corruption is through the roof, and that's where the lack of accountability is. And if that statistic is true that I've looked at, that would probably account for some of the issues that we see on a regular basis.
Well, shortly after I gave David Eby that book on transnational organized crime. Was it short? He did the money laundering inquiry came out. I don't know if it was shortly after that or I think it was before. And he certainly didn't start the inquiry because I gave him a book. But
I think it came out into the public perception, though. There's some hue and cry over the money laundering,
but no one was held accountable.
Right.
So there's an old-fashioned concept called personal responsibility. It's ancient, really. No one talks about it anymore. I was quite impressed that a kind of leftist NDP government was going to initiate a big needed law enforcement type thing. It kind of, I think, stopped halfway through and no one was held accountable. I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Our infrastructure is crumbling. We're a fabulously wealthy country. I think we just need to get back to basics and build on that. We're part of that. So we're part of the infrastructure policing. We should do better. I'll stand at the top of Trail 6, which is the top of the trail that goes 500 stairs down to Wreck Beach. And I do foot patrols still. Obviously, I'm old school, but and people go, "Hey, boss." And I'm like, "You've got that wrong." And they're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it's the other way around."
Right.
And they're like, and they don't know what I'm talking about. I go, "You're my boss. I work for you. It's not just a line. I work for you. That's my job." So I report to the RCMP. I don't work for them. I report to them, kind of like a franchise. I'm a franchise owner. I own my own franchise. The head company, parent company is pretty good, but like any old bureaucratic conservative organization, it could do better. So I think some of my standards and concepts and ideas are sometimes better than the parent company, but it's a franchise. You do as you're told. But I work for you.
So I've got some friends who work in corrections, and they say that it's an insult from the cons, as they call them, call you a boss because it's SOB backwards, right?
Yep. So. And I understand the difference. I understand.
You know who you're talking to when they say it.
Right. And I understand if they're American kids, for the most part, Canadian students. Right. I'm pretty good. And words matter, right?
Yes.
I've studied terrorism for decades, both personally and professionally. My mom would say I started off as a little kid, but words matter. And, when I look at a lot of the anti-Semitic stuff happening recently around post-secondary educations, I saw that stuff almost a decade ago when I got to UBC. You could see the groundwork being laid, not intentionally, but, the censorship, you can't say this, but you can say this, and the intimidation and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I don't think there's ever been a genocide in the history of the world where it didn't start with a demonization of a particular group,
Mm.
and it always starts with words. You know,
And Noam Chomsky would have something to say about that.
haven't read him in a long time, decades, but and then I look and I'm like, this is no surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was there's something called the Chicago Principles, I think.
Okay.
Chicago University or University of Chicago, and the minute you Google it, it pops up. But yeah, you're not here at Chicago University to be safe, like safe physically, but you're going to be here unpopular, contrary opinions, discussions. That's what you're here for, right? The exact opposite of a lot of the so-called woke cancel culture stuff. So the Chicago Principles. So as a counterterrorism information officer, working on a university campus, Wreck Beach, I could see this groundwork being laid. We used to call it political correctness. It
Sure.
takes different names, different forms. But it's no surprise that that caught fire the day after October 7th. Or was it the 6th? 7th. And it was like the groundwork was already laid. I could see it coming. And then you see why it's entrenched. Because you can entrench anything. Racism, right? Goodwill. Like
Sure.
you can entrench anything. Just get them in school for a while and just keep pumping them with whatever message you want to do. So, you know, someone was asking me, well, what can we do at universities to try and get us back on course? Friendlier, more civilized discussions at the post-secondary level. And I said, well, I don't know. Why don't you pull all the money from post-secondary institutions in the province unless they adhere to the Chicago Principles in both word and deed? Because money gets people's attention like nobody else.
That's it.
Or nothing else.
Money and power.
So Chicago Principles, maybe funding, provincial funding should be somewhat tied to that. You know, the West doesn't know it all. But we do a lot of things right. And much of the world looked to us, or did, even still. We all need to try and up our game. I don't think the elected officials know what they don't know. They don't have any idea that effective and enduring community safety is comprised of public safety, which is their responsibility, and personal safety. They don't know what to do now. They're sitting there twiddling their thumbs going, oh, crap. You know, the Liberals are saying, well, yeah, maybe we'll do some bail reform under a C-75. Poilievre's going, you know, jail, not bail. There's more to it than that.
Well, how do you make personal safety saleable? How do they make money off of personal safety, or how do they make that win hearts and minds and votes by advocating for people to look after themselves?
Well, we talk a big game, or politicians talk a big game about rights. You know, listen to the Liberals advocating for reproductive rights for women, a woman's right to choose. It's front and center. In every election, it's front and center again. Okay, well, let's have a discussion on rights in this country, particularly the right of all rights. Section 7 of the Charter, security of person. Yes, a woman's right to choose is up there. But as that other woman told me recently, it's not exactly as it's been portrayed. Maybe a woman's right to choose is primarily how, when, and if to choose to protect her life and the lives of her kids. Once you're safe, we'll discuss all the other rights. So we need a bit more of the charter in our high schools. We need maybe a whole course. I don't know. But you can tie it into civics or social studies or history.
Or into everything and just have a little bit over and over again.
So into everything.
Right.
Rights just need to be a topic of discussion all the time. So when you see in the news today, at either the local level, federal level, on CKNW, when they talk about public safety is usually the term they use.
Right.
That's fine. We'll just call it public safety.
Sure.
But it takes a village to raise a child. I think the more parents, the better. Not getting any further than that. I just think the more support children have, the better they are.
Yeah, I mean,
two parents, brothers, sisters, relatives, but it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to keep itself safe. Canadians are going to have to re-engage in looking out for each other. We can't do it in isolation. We can't arrest our way out of this problem. Like, not a chance. We are missing fully 50% of what we need, probably more, for community safety. And through a number of factors of which we have no control, some we do, things are not going that well right now. We can turn a lot of that around. And the nice thing is if the government is unwilling or unable to do their public safety job better, the personal safety part is you don't need anyone's permission. It's the most important right you have. You can take as much control of it as you want or none. You don't need anyone's permission. I get it. Most police forces won't talk about it. I don't think they know even what to talk about. VPD does a women's self-defense course. They have a number of female instructors. I would love to have sat in on the course, but they wouldn't let me. No big deal. But even if we don't teach self-defense and talk about tools, we can talk about personal safety in a very really. I could cover everything I've covered here in a 1.5 hour course with a half-hour Q&A.
Right.
I think all police departments need to, because our core mandate is public safety. So we've had it, the DARE program was for don't do drugs.
Right.
Just so you know. CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design is, to prevent B&Es, thefts. Well, where's the personal safety component?
Well, I think people are afraid to advocate for personal safety based on, I think persons out there are fearful for the consequence if they enact personal safety because it's not talked about. They don't know the parameters that they're allowed to be able to deal with, and they don't know what those rights look like. And then on the other side would be, and I'll play devil's advocate here.
Please. That's how you get good policy.
Sure. I think governments look at liability associated with telling people that they can protect themselves and things go sideways. So they'll say, no, we'll protect you, right? Don't protect yourself. You lock yourself in the room. We'll be there in a little bit. And if they turn around and say, get out there, protect yourself before this gets too bad, what do they wear? So people are so risk adverse at all different levels that they start creating a system where they figure it's illusory. It's not real. You can't have a police force out there that protects everybody all the time. It's reactive.
So I understand people's concern, hesitancy, liability thoughts. As an organization, I doubt my company, my outfit is going to have anything to do with self-defense.
Right.
Anything. We can talk about personal safety from a rights-based perspective,
Mm.
and I'm not talking fluff here. I don't think we've talked any fluff today.
Mm.
I think we've talked absolutely concrete essentials. So we can have, let's say, in every police detachment, a community safety coordinator who can coordinate all the sections and support services in a detachment going in the same direction. So that would be GD patrol, dealing with domestic victims and writing safety plans and saying, you know what, there's a couple good books out there among many.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to tell you to do this, all this stuff. But there's a good book called The Gift of Fear
By Gavin DeBecker.
It's been around for a couple decades. It's been updated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that book should be in every high school library and on every counselor's desk.
Mm.
I also think that school administrators should also have the book. Transition houses, safe houses should all have the book. It's not deadly force.
Mm.
But for the vast majority of the public who aren't that inclined or particularly interested in the self-defense component,
Mm-hmm.
and prevention is the key. If we do a really good job on prevention, you'll never need that stuff. It's like martial arts.
Right.
I think the majority of the benefits of martial arts are sense of community, fitness, self-esteem, socialization. You may need it to save your ass one day, and that's important too. It's just that you probably won't use it for that all the time.
Right.
But all these other things that you do get from it are fantastic, and parents can do it with their kids.
Mm.
You know, I mean, super cool, right? And most kids in martial arts just look at one or the two of their parents, maybe both. Like it's same like shooting, golf, whatever.
Sure.
So from a policing perspective, community safety coordinator, every detachment to get the detachment on board. Get victim services with Gavin DeBecker's book, A Gift of Fear.
Mm.
Recommend it in your safety plans to your victims. Special Victims Unit can also recommend it as well. There are others. I just happen to think it's one of the best.
What was your big takeaway from that book?
Oh, where to start? It has a little something in there for everybody.
Mm.
They talked about media personalities, movie stars, TV stars, straight up domestic violence victims. Great section for HR people on how to fire problematic employees and considerations before, during, and after.
Mm.
It'd be great for school boards. Like I think for because there's going to be a whole segment of the population that's going to start twitching the minute we talk about civilian ATC.
Sure.
Authorization to carry. You're going to have cops twitching just the thought of the LLDA, the Last Line of Defense Act, carrying off shift.
Mm.
No one's going to really twitch reading Gavin DeBecker's book.
Mm.
I think it's a fantastic book for the vast majority of the population, particularly policymakers. So if we get a community safety coordinator at the detachment level getting, Special Victims Unit, everyone kind of moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
We get community policing and school liaison to try and get that book in high school libraries and on the counselors' desks. We talk to our safe houses and transition houses in our communities. Refer that book and any other book they want to buy. Victim services are dealing with the victims, right? And then we take it outside of the detachment to the community, and we focus on community safety.
Mm.
Public safety and personal safety. Nothing contentious, no liability. It's your right. It always has been. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. Security of person is the first law of humanity. We'll explore the Charter a bit. We'll explore the Criminal Code a bit. We'll talk about good preventative means. The questions are always going to come up. Can I carry a knife? Can I carry a gun? All this stuff. Baseball bat. It just goes on. For folks who want, so worst case scenario is you have no tools.
Mm-hmm.
So go empty hand first, martial arts, then work on tools. Tools require training. They require considerably more thought before, during, and after. So empty hand skills are better. And before you get into empty hand skills, you can get into other skills.
Sure.
De-escalation, avoidance, talking. I've never had to use my martial arts. I studied a World War II style of empty hand fighting, Defendu. So Dangerous Dan, William Fairbairn, Shanghai Municipal Police, went back to Britain, Second World War, and taught all the commandos, including Canadian commandos, at Camp X in Ontario. I learned it from a former Canadian Forces guy who trained with Colonel Rex Applegate in Oregon in the years before he died.
You saw his book up there too.
I did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of think, wow, Fairbairn taught Applegate. Applegate taught my instructor, and then I got it. Like the lineage, it's a very short line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just destroying people. It's, few arm blows, few leg blows, and a few other unpleasant things. It's just to save your life.
Right.
Never needed to use it at work. Probably never would, unless it was an extreme case, because it's not nice takedowns, come-alongs. It's none of that stuff. But I've never had to use it because I talk to people, and I use humor to connect with. You can make someone laugh, smirk even. You're kind of ahead of the game. I've sat in rooms with heavily tattooed motorcycle enthusiasts. Everyone talks to the police at some point.
Right.
Or it's death or in jail, one of you two. It's all because part of it was because it was my job and that was the unit I was working in, but part of it is because they sought me out because they like me. If I have to talk to a cop, who's it going to be?
Somebody you respect.
Or at least don't hate. Because he liked my dog. I got a pit bull. We have something in common.
Right.
He liked my bike. He made me laugh. He didn't treat me like shit.
Yeah. You have to feel like there's some form of a connection there.
So again, when I'm talking to young constables and new in service, that person might be your source one day. Be polite, be professional. Humor can cross some of those boundaries. Find commonality, but find commonality with everyone you're out talking to. Schools, community. You got to get out of your car. We're short-staffed. People are busy. But, again, we can do a better job in this outfit. It's not rocket science. Defund us, not a chance.
Yeah.
It's going to be more expensive. But Canada can afford us. Well, I don't know where all the money's gone. It didn't go to infrastructure, I guess. But we just, we don't have community safety coordinators.
Yeah.
I think we need one in every detachment. I think we need to get the detachment on the same page. Then we go into the community and do the preventative stuff. We have the victims already. We should be, because now we've got an interested audience.
Yes.
Maybe for a short period of time, but maybe not. We just get the concept of rights when we talk at schools. Let's talk about community safety, but throw the charter in, right? We don't need government's permission to look out for ourselves. Exercising the most important human right you have is not taking things into your own hands. It's not. So when you hear that, it's like, time out. No. Let's have a chat.
100% agree. Ian, is there anything that we should be talking about that we haven't talked about?
Yes, but I'll remember it on the drive home. or tonight, or when I'm debriefing this in my head all afternoon. Yeah, I mean, I'll go to my coffee shop in North Van and always with a book.
Yeah.
And have a big cup of tea, and I probably won't pick up my book once.
Yeah.
Because there's just lots going on.
I hear you.
I apologize because I'm a bit of a squirrel. I jump around.
Hey, I got ADHD. I can chase squirrels all day.
I've never been assessed, but I think there's some common themes in there.
There are.
And I need help from my community, which is Canada. I need help from my community, which is Team Canada. And we can start turning this around. There's some big problems out there. Mental health, opioid addiction, all that stuff. Russia, China, Iran. There's a lot going on in the world. So, think global, but we can act local. Policing can do a better job. I think community safety coordinator at every detachment, and I'll be happy to write the national course if they want. It's not rocket science. We can just do a better job. Resources are a bit of a problem. We need to educate our educators. We need to educate municipal, provincial, and federal politicians. It'll be easier to engage our municipal politicians, probably. They're accessible.
Sure.
Right? But community safety is highly dependent on personal safety. You don't need anyone's permission. There's good resources out there. Deadly Force by Masada Ayub. This is a history book to keep and bear arms, but Gavin de Becker's book, The Gift of Fear, is excellent. Local police department should be able to help you. Say hi to a cop when you're out.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm out. It's summertime, and I got to carry all this cash. I carry all these loonies and toonies. My buddy's like, "You always carry your card. What's going on?" I go, "Yeah, except for in the summer, because there's lemonade stands out there." And get out of your car, talk to people. Most people like us in Canada, contrary to what you might hear in the media. Most kids like us.
Yeah.
We can turn a lot of this around. You and your industry should have both these books in every firearms store in the country. And why don't we start teaching women's defensive pistol class? It's putting the cart before the horse because we don't have civilian ATC. But why don't we start teaching women's defensive pistol courses around the country? Silvercore, Millbrook. There's a bunch of other people out there now. There's a lot of military people out there who are looking for firearms instructors jobs. We could start that and letting women know that this is the most important right you have. Indigenous communities too. They're looking for economic opportunities. We are short of ranges across the country. So if you want to address some community safety problems in your community, maybe an indoor and outdoor range is a good a viable economic opportunity. If it's indoor range, you can shoot all winter. You're going to attract people with a PAL, all of whom proven by the government of Canada aren't criminals. And let's keep this conversation going. But we don't have to wait till the feds do it. Provinces could start some of this, if only the LLDA, allowing us to carry off shift or mandating it. As low risk as you can get, cost taxpayers nothing. And let's do that. It takes a community to keep itself safe, and let's start turning this thing around.
Ian, thank you so much for being on the Silvercore Podcast. I really enjoy the discussion here.
My pleasure. I'd heard about you. I saw you last night for my first podcast. I'm really glad I got to meet you.